Welcome to the Mortgage Update with Dan Frio. For over 10 years, Dan has been helping AM 1160 listeners. With so many companies to choose from and hundreds of loan options, the mortgage process can be confusing and costly. Be sure to listen each day for Dan and learn the difference between FHA, VA, and conventional loans. You'll also learn how to negotiate lower interest rates and fees, as well as steps to buying your first home and whether refinancing makes sense. Stay tuned to find out why Chicago's top realtors are choosing Dan Frio.
Welcome back to the Mortgage Update with Dan Frio, and I, of course, am Dan Frio. I just want to let you know, if you have any questions you want me to answer personally, just give me a call at 833-DAN-FRIO, which is DANFRIO. So right now I want to pick up on where we left off yesterday. We were talking everything credit, and I am passionate about this. You might not be, but you kind of should be, because it affects all aspects of your life. You know, it can come down to, are you going to get that job or not? You might be competing against somebody else, and if your credit is you're past due on a whole bunch of stuff, you might not get that job. You might not get that house that you're looking to buy. You might have a very difficult time renting. All these things. You're trying to apply for credit, trying to get a student loan. All these things are going to be a part of your life, all the way down to what are your insurance premiums? Could save you thousands of dollars in your insurance premiums. So this is a big part of your life. So what I want to talk about right now is some of the inaccuracies that people think, or I'll say wives' tales, on when it comes to credit. Okay, so these are some of the questions or comments I get a lot of times when people call me. They want pre-approved for a loan, a mortgage, but then they're like, I don't want you to pull my credit, or I did this, or I did that, or something. So a lot of times people shoot themselves in the foot. So let's go over some things you might not get, or you might not understand, because some of this stuff doesn't make any sense. The first thing, and the biggest thing, is where I see people falter a lot, is when you have a collection account. Okay, so I can almost say probably 80% of the people that I pull credit on, they have a collection of one sort or another. And a lot of times it's a medical bill. Okay, so here's what happens is you have this collection account. What we want to do is, I have a video out there on YouTube. Check out my YouTube videos. Just go to YouTube and the Mortgage Update with Dan Frio, and I think I have about 400 of them there. One of the biggest ones out there is, don't pay off your collection account. Don't pay them off. So what I get a lot of times is, they're requiring that I pay it off to get the loan, to get the mortgage. It has to be paid off. Okay, so what I would suggest in that case, we pay it off in the loan that I do for you at the time of the closing. Don't tell any other mortgage people, because most of the time they're going to say, that collection needs paid off. And then we got to prove that it's paid off. No. So here's what happens between me and you. You then go to that collection agency, and now you owe this XYZ collection agency. And it's $1,000 bill that you took out 7 years ago. Okay, so the last reporting is 7 years ago. You owe $1,000 to XYZ company. So you then pay it off. What happens? Well, XYZ company now shows you a zero balance. Cool. Awesome. But your credit scores dropped 30 points. What happened? Well, the last active date went from 7 years ago to today. So what the credit agencies are reading, or what the algorithms are reading for your scores, are you have a collection. It doesn't care about the balance. It could be $1. It could be $10,000. Believe it or not, you get hit the same amount in the last active date. So if the last active date is from 7 years ago, it probably is playing zero role in your credit scores. Now you paid it off. Now it's saying you got a collection, and it's 2019. You probably just lost 10, 15, 20, 30 points by paying that collection off. Doesn't make any sense. But that's what happens. So that's the truth about collections. So what you need to do, again, the benchmark is getting your credit report. We got to get your credit report because we got to know what we're working with. All right, that's the number one thing. The next thing, what I hear from a lot of people is, well, I got to carry a balance on my credit cards. Why? Well, so it actually reads and says, I'm using it. I have a balance. You don't have to carry a balance on your credit cards. Especially, look at your credit card statement. The rate's probably 25%. Why in the world would you want to carry a balance on a credit card if you're paying 25%, even if it's $100? You do not have to carry a balance on your credit card. Okay? So if you have the ability and you can, pay it off every month. And like I said in yesterday's show, if you could pay it off a week before your statement gets issued, that's even better. So get your credit cards paid off. And settlements. So here's what happens a lot of times is you owe on something and then you couldn't afford it or you couldn't pay it. So then you came back and said, well, I settled on it and I settled for less than, but it's paid off. I got a zero balance now. That's going to affect you. It's going to affect your credit scores because what the credit is looking for is who you paid on time, and who'd you pay in full. If you short paid somebody or settled for less than, it will have an effect on your credit scores. However, in most cases, it's probably better you did that than you did nothing at all. But if you can and have the ability to, call that company and ask them, can we settle on an amount? And if we settle, I want a removal letter stating that you will remove that account completely off of my credit reports. And I say because they might come back and take it off of TransUnion, but you're still on the other ones. I've seen that. You want to get that letter before you pay them in full. Then what you do is you pay them in full, and then a month or two later, you go back in and you check your credit and make sure it was deleted. So it's called a deletion letter is what you're going to be asking for. So credit hacks. All right. What is a hack? Well, a hack is a simple little trick or tool or something that you do to help your credit scores. Okay. In a lot of these cases, I'm not asking you to spend any money. I'm not asking you to spend a ton of time. They're just little tricks to increase your credit scores. Okay. Number one, and this is one that a lot of people don't know about, and it can increase your credit scores dramatically really fast, and that's piggybacking. So what piggybacking is this. You have not a lot of credit. And that's where it helps in most cases when you don't have a lot of established credit. You don't have a lot of established credit. You got out of college a couple of years ago. You have a job. You just bought a car. You got a couple of payments on there. But you just don't have enough credit on there. So what we do is we go out to mom, dad, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, somebody that you know meets these criteria. They have an account that they've had for a long time, number one. Number two, we want an account that they have a fairly sizable high credit limit. So let's say they have a MasterCard with a $5,000 limit. Okay? The other part is you know that they don't carry a big balance. So they might owe $200 a month on that $5,000 credit card. And then most of all, they pay it on time. They've never missed a payment. Okay? If you can find those, and most of the time, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, somebody has that. I want you to ask them. And we'll ask them like this. I'm trying to build my credit because I want to X. I want to buy a house. I want to rent. I want to buy a car. I'm applying for a new job, and I really don't have much credit, and I think this will help me. Can you put me or add me as an authorized user on your credit card? And I'll give you another tool to ask them where they really can't say no, because they might come back and say, are you crazy? I'm not going to give you get on my credit card. I worked really hard to get my credit the way it is today. I'm not going to have you go out there and blow it. Okay. You don't even have to issue me a card or even give me access to anything about that account. All I'm asking is to be placed as a authorized user. So now that data goes on to my credit account. So now you just picked up a 5-year credit history with a $5,000 high credit limit that they only owe a couple $100, so they're at a 10% utilization ratio, and it's a major credit card. It's a win-win. And again, make sure you preface it by saying, I don't even want a card. I'm not going to use it. I want no access to it. That's the biggest one. That's probably one of the easiest ones to do in this list. The next one is, we already spoke about it, is getting your high credit limits increased. Okay? So, here, I recently had a client call me in. I'm going through their credit scores, and I'm like, their credit scores are horrendous. And I'm looking through, and I'm like, they've never missed a payment in their life. What? I don't get it. I go into it, and I look at it meticulously. They have a Discover card, a Walmart card, like 5 or 6 credit cards. So I'm thinking, okay, they have a good amount of credit cards, so that's good. What's the holdup here? They paid it meticulously. Well, every account had like a $250 high credit limit. Every account, they owed right around $200 or $220. Their utilization rates were out the roof, thus killed their credit scores. So within 30 days, I had that person go out there and call all the credit cards. Every one except one increased their credit line to $1,000. 45 days into it, we re-pulled their credit, and their credit scores were, I want to say, at least 80 points higher than when we started. We actually put these people into a home less than 45 days ago. The last one is get 3 credit cards, major credit cards, okay? Not a secured account, not a Walmart or Target account, major. Discover, MasterCard, Visa. They could be 3 MasterCards, whatever. And again, it's going to sound like an infomercial, but creditscoresandmore.com. I'm getting somewhere with this. Click step 1. Step 1 is absolutely 100% free. Doesn't ask you for a credit card, nothing. It'll give you your Vantage score. And we talked about Vantage score. It's an educational tool. It's a cool site. What it does for you is it helps find you the credit card that matches your credit criteria and that you're most likely to get approved for. I don't want you going out there and just applying for credit, because the inquiries are going to start to hurt. And the system will match you with the best credit card that meets your needs in your credit profile. It'll work. Trust me. So when we come back, I'm going to add George, the producer, on with me, and he's going to go through some credit issues that he had and how we can fix them and how we did fix them. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Mortgage Update with Dan Frio, and today's show is all about credit. So what I want to discuss right now is home buyers, especially first-time home buyers. Don't wait to the last minute to try to qualify for a home. Here's what I mean. You know that your lease is up next June, and let's say it's December. What does your credit look like? Now, if you go through all the stuff that I advise people to do, go to that creditscoresandmore.com, do step 1, get your free stuff, monitor all that stuff, and look at your credit. Step 2, get your real credit scores. As long as those credit scores are in the mid 600s, 700 range, you're okay. Many times I'll get a call and they'll say, you know what, I got to be out of my apartment in 2 months. I need to get pre-qualified for a home and blah, 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 blah. So what happens? We pull their credit. There's a bunch of stuff on there they don't even realize. And their credit scores are too low to even qualify. So now they put their head in the sand, and now what? So what I want to address in this segment is first-time home buyers or anybody looking to buy a house. What is your credit scores, and how do we go down this path? So George, my producer, he's a new home buyer.
Hello, Dan. About 5 years ago.
And what I want to talk about, though, is the credit issue you had. Everybody, I won't say everybody, I'll say at least half the people that go apply for a loan, they think they know what they're doing and what their credit scores are and everything else.
Yeah.
But they get blindsided.
We did.
Okay.
Yeah. And just a real quick overview. We did the free credit, whatever, guys with the singing band with this catchy jingle, and said, oh, okay, we're in the mid 600s, and we're looking good. My wife was close to 700. So we said, we're good. We started looking on Zillow, and we talked to a realtor, and we got all going, okay, well, yeah, I think it's time to buy. Call the mortgage company. And we were both in the high 500s.
Got it.
Which was a shock.
Right.
That's when I learned that we had more than one credit score. That's when I learned that there was no way we could find our real credit score other than having somebody do a hard pull.
Right.
That's when I learned that, and this is the one thing I really want to talk about today. There were a number of things in our credit that were incorrect. We were able to simply write letters to these places because these were such cut and dry issues. Mm-hmm. But if they're not, you really have to go through a process.
Right.
The one thing that was really sticky was we had an elderly relative, and we were both authorized users on 2 different credit cards that elderly relative had from years prior, so that we could buy her groceries and help, fix her house and stuff like that, right? My wife and I. That elderly relative had exhausted all of her financial assets, and we had not been involved with her in a couple of years because she was out of state. That elderly relative was also going through a bankruptcy. And had not paid anything on those cards in over a year. So those 2 cards showed up on our credit reports and dropped us so far that it literally put us out of contention for getting a home loan. We were able to get those things off, but there was no way we could see them with a standard sort of consumer credit report. One of the other major issues that we had was that took 4 months out of our process. Yeah. So if we were under the gun, which we weren't, thankfully,
right.
But if we were under the gun, let's say if we were renting from someone who was selling their building, and we had to be out by a certain day.
Yeah.
Or if our lease was up and they said, no, we're renovating the whole place and turning it into condos, and there's literally no availability for us.
You're fortunate because most of the time that's what I get.
Yeah.
And then the tough thing is their procrastination then becomes
your nightmare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, we got to do something. I'm like, well, okay. You
needed to do something 6 months ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why one of the reasons why credit scores and more, I hate, again, this isn't an infomercial for that. Well, that site it does everything for you.
You go ahead and speak to it. You created it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can speak to it. If that had existed, and I don't think it did. If it did, I apologize.
Nope.
If that had existed 6 years ago when we started our home search,
right,
I can tell you that we would have probably been in a better house sooner.
Right.
In a better area, simply because I would have had a handle. By the time we did close on the house that we live in now, which is a lovely little house in a nice area, we love it, nice school and everything else. But by the time we closed on it, we were under the gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a year later.
And that's why I created creditscoresandmore.com, is just for that. And not to make money or get rich on it or anything. It's basically to guide people and say, if you want something done about your credit, there it is. I created it. I can't make you go there. The system's, the number one biggest piece of that is 100% free. The other things is you paid for that service, but you're getting all the data that you need for me to help. And I'd be more than happy if somebody goes on there and pulls their credit, needs me to explain it or review it with them, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Well, the other part of that is, too, what that site does, there's no difference really as far as there's something that's free and there's something to be paid for.
Right.
The difference is that you're upfront about it.
Right.
A lot of these joints where you get free and you get monitoring and you get this and this and this and it's a free trial.
It's a free trial.
So after the first month, which is the only time you're going to see the next difference in your credit score, you're paying for it already.
Yep.
And
so many people pay for all kind of other stuff anyways. Like they pay one system for credit monitoring, then one system for credit repair, then one system for the identity theft monitoring. There's even in that website I created step 3.
Yeah.
It does all of that at a price, I think it's $80 a month.
If you paid for all those things individually, what are you paying? Like $200? Right?
Yeah. Here, I'm going to look it up real quick.
We worked it out at one point.
Yeah. I personally use this system. That's why I added it as a step 3. I had LifeLock, then I had Equifax or TransUnion. I subscribed to that system to pull my credit every month. Then I had a credit monitoring system, and then I had some things on my credit report that I needed to dispute or whatever. So I got a credit resolution company for that. Everything. I mean, you add it up. If you're getting 4 elements, we'll say credit restoration or credit repair, credit monitoring, identity monitoring. If you add those up at $50 a month for each one of them, it's $150, $200. You would probably spend. The system that I just put in is a step 3. It does all of that plus. I think it's
right
$80.
Around $80. Yeah.
Which is nuts. And that's why I switched all of my stuff over to this system, and I love it. So I personally use it. So what are the things that, I guess I'll say it this way, that surprised you the most about your credit that you just weren't aware of or just didn't understand?
Other than the fact that there were so many scores I couldn't count them, and I could only find one of them. I think the biggest surprise was just that the amount of competition you have, okay? The littlest bit of difference in your credit can absolutely mean you either getting a house or not,
right,
or you getting a certain rate or not. We had floated the rate, and you'll be familiar with this, maybe the audience won't, but until you lock in a rate very close to closing, it sort of floats, and you'll watch it go up, and if you think it's going to go up, maybe you lock it in early. But we were watching these rates, and as our credit, we were in this house search for months and months. These rates kept coming down, and we said, wow, these rates are really dropping. He goes, yeah, just for you guys. Just for you guys. And they weren't big differences in the credit.
Yeah, it's amazing how. So I'll just go this caption real quick. When it comes to mortgages, there's 4 buckets. When it comes to your rates, your mortgage rates, people don't know this.
I like buckets. They're useful.
I'm going to say test grades, A, B, C, D. Okay? A, 740 and above. I don't care if you have a 741 or an 800, it's the same rate. So people get infatuated. I need an 800 credit score. God bless you. Try your best to get there. But that is, once you get 740 plus, you got an A rate. B, the next bucket, is 720 to 739. So that's B. And again, that rate's going to be slightly higher than the 740 person.
Now you see how much smaller that bucket is. So the top one is 60 points. And that one was 720 to 739.
Yep.
That's 20 points.
Yep. The next one is same way, 700 to 719. Then under 700 is a D.
And that's a huge, so if you...
Big jump.
Now, when we talk about, what is it, 620 to get a loan, right? That's pretty much, I mean, there are some programs for other things, but you pretty much need a 620 for a conventional mortgage.
Correct. But that
if you can get up to 700...
Your rate's going to be 3/4 lower.
And if you can go just another 20 to 40 points.
Right. Yep. And that's what I do. That's why I always say I'm your mortgage advisor. I'm not just a loan officer that jumps in, takes your credit application, locks you in, and pushes you through the process. I'll sit there and say, okay, you're at a 728. I'm going to help get you, if possible, over 740. It might only reduce your rate by 1/4, but over the term of loan, it could save you $10,000, $20,000 in interest. That's a lot of money. So, but that's the buckets on the credit scores. So thank you so much. I appreciate you listening today. I want to thank our sponsors, Dottie Dose with Echo Home Inspections, Inc. If and when you're buying a house, make sure you reach out to Dottie to go through the house and make sure there's no issues with it. She does a fantastic job. Gary Hall with Remax Central. Gary's a fantastic realtor that we use in the Hoffman Estates area. He does a fantastic job if you're looking to list your home. He will present it the way it needs to be presented to sell. AD Supplies. They have all your industrial safety needs, such as gas cans, spill containment, distribution and containment, materials handling, and safety cabinets. So check them out. Stuart Ramirez with eSignature Realty. Stuart helps my clients on the north side, does a great job. I've known him for years, and he'll make sure he finds you that dream home. Tom Mirabelli. Tom is your independent insurance provider and consultant. I used Tom in the past to get me out of Obamacare because my premiums were just too high. Pat Noon, PJN Tax Solutions Group. Pat will get the IRS off your ASS. So if you have any problems there, please make sure you get a hold of Pat. Credit scores and more. Everything you need to know about credit. Just go to creditscoresandmore.com. Universal Masonry Group, Joe Trebuzio. Joe actually redid my basement, and it's unrecognizable. So if you need anything done, remodeled, building, basement finishing, bathrooms, kitchens, anything you need, check out Universal Masonry Group. And then David Ablin. Dave works with my clients in the suburbs to help them find their dream home, and Dave has been doing it for probably 20 to 30 years. He does a fantastic job, and he works on the clients on an individual basis. So thanks to all those sponsors. I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place.
You've been listening to The Mortgage Update with Dan Frio. For over 10 years, Dan has been helping AM 1160 listeners. With so many companies to choose from and hundreds of loan options, the mortgage process can be confusing and costly. Be sure to listen each day for Dan and learn the difference between FHA, VA, and conventional loans. You'll also learn how to negotiate lower interest rates and fees, as well as steps to buying your first home and whether refinancing makes sense.